Just one mental exercise of thinking through what are the sequence of steps required in order to perform this habit from start to finish can shift the likelihood of being able to perform that habit from unlikely or to moderately likely to very likely over time.
Welcome back to Biohacking Insights. In today's video, the professor of neurobiology and ophthalmology, Dr. Andrew Huberman, shares the mental habits of the highly successful visualization protocol that will change your life. We are what we repeatedly do, so what habits will make us better?
But the fact of the matter is that habits are a big part of who we are. What we do habitually makes up much of what we do entirely. In fact, it's estimated that up to 70% of our waking behavior is made up of habitual behavior.
Dr. Huberman says there's a lot of biology, cells, hormones, and neural pathways that are going to support the development of those habits. So if habits are primarily learned consciously or unconsciously, we must ask ourselves, what is learning? Well, learning is neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is simply the process by which our nervous system changes in response to experience. We have to ask, what changes? Changes are the connections between neurons. Neurons are just nerve cells. They communicate with one another by sending electricity and sending chemical signals that inspire the next neuron and the next neuron to be electrically active. But by the end of the day, neuroplasticity is about forming new neural circuits, new pathways by which certain habits are likely to occur and other ones are less likely to occur. Habits are learned. Learning involves neuroplasticity, and neuroplasticity involves changes in the connections between neurons and nerve cells. There are going to be habits that are designed to bring you a specific outcome as you do them every time you do them. Let's take Zone 2 cardio as an example. If your heart is a car engine, then Zone 2 is like cruising along a highway at a steady speed where the engine is running smoothly, not too fast and not too slow. Your heart beats at a rate that allows you to keep going without feeling like you're pushing too hard or running out of gas. Your body's energy sources like fuel options for your car. In Zone 2, your body primarily burns fat for fuel, similar to how a hybrid car relies on more electricity at moderate speeds. It's efficient and sustainable, giving you enough energy to keep going without draining your tank too quickly. This will help you build endurance. Building endurance is like upgrading your car's engine. Just like how regular maintenance and upgrades improve your car's performance, consistent Zone 2 workouts strengthen your heart and lungs, making them more efficient at delivering oxygen to your muscles over time, even as you go for the conversation test. The conversation test is like having a passenger in your car. If you can comfortably chat with them while exercising, you're likely in Zone 2. It's like driving and talking without feeling too distracted or out of breath, indicating that your effort level is just right for steady progress. By consistently training in this zone, you're laying the groundwork for improved health, stamina, and overall fitness, setting yourself up for success in the long run. For instance, Dr. Huberman mentions the incredibly positive effects of getting 150 minutes to 180 minutes per week minimum of Zone 2 cardio. Zone 2 cardio is relevant in the effectiveness in promoting recovery and reducing the risk of overtraining. So maybe you want to get more Zone 2 cardio, for instance. That would be an immediate goal-based habit if your goal is to get that cardio maybe 4 times a week. But there's a distinction between identity versus immediate goal-based habit formation. The reason Dr. Huberman makes the distinction is dopamine. If you're enjoying this video, leave a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, this is critical to understand habit formation for the following reasons.
So what I'd like to do is to take the scientific literature of how the nervous system learns and engages in neuroplasticity and apply that to habit formation, habit maintenance, and, if so desired, how to break particular habits.
Some experts say it takes 21 days to form a habit. Others say 18. Some would say 21, even 30 or 60 days. So which one is it? Does it depend on the habit that one is trying to form? Or does it depend on the person trying to form the habit? A study found that it can take anywhere from 18 days to as many as 254 days for different individuals to form that habit. How long does it take to form a habit? Is it true that your nervous system changes in 6 days when you're doing something repeatedly? Dr. Huberman concludes that it's highly variable. In the neuroscience of memory, experts distinguish between episodic and procedural memory. Episodic memory is a recall of a particular set of events that happened. In contrast, procedural memory is remembering the specific sequence of things that must happen for a particular outcome. So think of it like sets and reps for an exercise. It's clear that for anyone trying to adopt new habits, getting into the mindset of procedural memory is very useful for overcoming that barrier that we call limbic friction. How do you do that? Well, it's a simple visualization exercise. It can simply be thinking about the particular sequence of steps that are required to execute that habit. I would think through each of those steps. It turns out that simple mental exercise done once can shift people towards a much higher likelihood of performing that habit regularly, not just the first time, but as they continue out into the days and weeks that follow. And that's because it pulls from this process that involves our hippocampus, our neocortex, and other areas of our brain and nervous system that engage in procedural memory.
Really the guts of the mechanisms of how this works. But for those of you that just want to be more habitual about certain things, be able to perform certain things more reflexively that you would like in your life, simply take the time, do it once, maybe twice, and just sit down, close your eyes if you like, and just step through the procedure of what it's going to take in order to perform that habit.
If you're somebody who used to perform a habit and you don't understand why you dropped it, and you're trying to figure out how to get back into that habit, Dr. Huberman advises that you lean right back into that habit. But if you're having trouble doing that, also just use the procedural memory exercise in order to shift your nervous system towards a higher likelihood that you will return to that habit. The most powerful tool for being able to acquire and stick to new habits is rooted in what we call neural circuits, and it is important to understand how those neural circuits work. The tool is something like task bracketing, and the neural circuits associated with task bracketing are basically the neural circuits that are going to allow you to learn any new type of habit or break any habit that you'd like to break. We have in our brain a set of neural circuits that fall under the umbrella term of basal ganglia. The basal ganglia are involved in action execution, meaning doing certain things, and action suppression, not doing certain things. Task bracketing involves a particular set of neural circuits within the basal ganglia. It is a sensory motor loop. Sensory is all about input, sight, sounds, taste, and all. And then the motor system, the systems of the brain and body that generate action, taking that information and generating action. So as it turns out, there's an area of our basal ganglia called the dorsolateral striatum. We can use the acronym DLS. Dorso means up. Lateral means to the side, and striatum is a subdivision of the basal ganglia. The DLS brackets the habit. What the literature on this tells us is that we have particular circuits in our brain that are devoted to framing the habits that happened before and as we initiate a habit, as well as after we terminate a habit. If the neural circuits are task bracketing, they are deeply embedded in us, meaning they are very robust around a particular habit. Then it's likely that you'll carry out that habit no matter what. So task bracketing sets a neural imprint, a kind of fingerprint in your brain, so much so that it's reflective. And there's a way that you can build up that task bracketing so that regardless of what you're trying to learn, there's a much higher probability that you're going to do that thing. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our video on how you can do something you hate. Stay tuned.